I'm chopping lots of chocolate. We're going to make a chocolate Yule log today. That's what I brought to Tom's table. I have a lot of chocolate to get through, and once I do, we'll start baking. A Bûche de Noel, or a Yule log, is a French cake roll that's decorated to look like a tree. And the first thing that we're going to make for that is actually the last thing we're going to put on it, and it's meringue mushrooms. It'll give it an authentic tree-like look. So we want to make the meringue mushrooms first. They're going to take a long time to make, and then we'll see how they're used in the end. The first thing I'm going to put in is 4 egg whites, and I'm going to whip those to stiff peak, which makes them very pointy and dry. And I'll put it on warp speed, so it shouldn't take as long. And then I'm going to add a cup of powdered sugar. And there are a lot of recipes out there for meringue mushrooms, and a lot of them call for additional things like flour or salt or vanilla. Don't bother with those, and definitely don't use a recipe that calls for granulated sugar, because granulated sugar is something that'll cause the whole thing to be kind of floppy rather than stiff. It's not going to hold the shape that you need. So just substitute that granulated sugar for powdered sugar, and you'll have a successful meringue mushroom. If you just want to make the mushroom caps or have little meringues, then it's fine if you use granulated sugar. I know my camera crew really loves to eat them. But for our purposes, use powdered sugar, and you'll have success every time. This is coming up very nicely because I have it on high speed. And you want to whip it to stiff peak, and then we'll add the powdered sugar. I'll put it in a pastry bag and we'll pipe them out. I'll show you how to do that. All right, and I'll add the powdered sugar on low so it doesn't fly all over Tom's kitchen. As I said, the meringue mushrooms take a long time, but the thing is, you don't have to be there for a long time. Once you pipe them out, then you really don't have to be there while they're baking. And that's the thing about them, they're not really baked as much as they're dried out. Whipped egg whites, shiny and stiff. I'll put them in the pastry bag and we'll pipe them out. Okay, I'm putting them into the pastry bag. We'll pipe them out. We have to pipe out the stems and the caps separately, and we'll put them together later after they're baked. All right, let me just show you how this is done. You put them on this sheet pan lined with baking parchment, and let's see what we have. If you first want to pipe out some stems, make them nice and tall like that. So you just, as you're pulling up with the pastry bag, just ease off on the pressure. So these things look kind of like little white traffic cones, don't they? All right, that's enough stems. Now we just want to make the caps. And you want to hold that just a little bit above the surface and just squeeze. It makes the cap all by itself, and kind of go in a circular motion as you're pulling the bag away so you don't get a point sticking up. And that's all you do for the caps. All right. And when Tom's table is a little more successful, I think we'll be able to buy some prettier pans. But for now, this is what we have to work with, and it does the job fine. All right, meringue mushrooms. We have stems, we have caps. And what you do with these is you heat up your oven to 300 degrees, put them in the oven and turn the oven off and let it sit there overnight. The next morning, they'll be dried out, and that's it. You know, as I said, it takes a long time to do them, but you don't have to be there. Okay, I'll put these in the oven, and then we'll go on to the rest of the cake. I'm over here at the stove, and I'm melting some chocolate. It's 4 ounces of chocolate, or 3/4 of a cup, and I'm just melting it over a double boiler. And because we're making a chocolate cake, that's what we'll roll up. So let me continue stirring this and melting this, And once it's done, I'll meet you over at the mixer and we'll continue. Back over here at the mixer. Okay, let's make the cake part. I start with 6 egg yolks and a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar. And we'll whip those up for 5 minutes or until they're light. Should probably set my timer to 5 minutes so I'll know when they're done. But I've done this enough and I can tell. It really will take 5 minutes. They'll be nice and light and pale colored. And then we'll add the melted chocolate. The thing about the melted chocolate I wanted to say is you can also melt it in a microwave oven. Just take it out every few seconds and stir it. Chocolate's rather delicate. It burns very easily. That's why we like to melt it over a gentle boiling heat. But you can certainly do it in a microwave. You just have to be very attentive and stir it. But either way is fine. Okay? This is going to take a little bit longer. Still mixing. 5 minutes isn't up. It's already light and pale though, but we'll give it another minute and I'll have a little taste of some cheap California champagne. Okay, another taste. Okay, 5 minutes of whipping. You can see how light yellow this has become. I took it off the mixer just to show you that. I'm going to put it back on the mixer and we'll add the melted chocolate to it. Alright, I have the mixer on low. That way when I add the chocolate, it will stay in the bowl and not go on me. So we add the melted chocolate to the whipped egg yolks and sugar. And once they're incorporated, we'll go on to the egg whites. I hope you've saved them. While you weren't looking, I transferred the egg yolk and chocolate mixture to another bowl. Cleaned the bowl because we have to whip up the egg whites. I forgot to tell you earlier that when you separate the 6 egg yolks, save the 6 egg whites. We'll whip them up and then we'll fold them into the chocolate mixture. Let me just put this on. What we want to do is we want to whip this up to stiff peak. That's what it is. Stiff peak. This will take a minute or two. I'll put it on warp speed. Okay, the eggs are at stiff peak, and what I'm going to do is put it on the lowest speed, and I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar. And once that's added, I'll raise the speed, make sure it's incorporated. All right. And what we want to do is we want to fold the egg whites into the egg yolk and chocolate mixture. Now what we have is a very light mixture and we want to fold it into a very heavy mixture. So the secret to that is to lighten the heavy mixture by putting some of the egg whites in there to lighten it up. Okay, the egg whites, we're going to sacrifice a little bit of egg white volume in order to lighten up the heavy yolk chocolate mixture. And then the rest of it we'll fold in a little bit more gently. There's no leavening in here. There's no baking soda, baking powder, so the cake just relies on the air that's been whipped into the egg whites. So we don't want to lose a lot of that lightness. I'm using a whisk to fold in. Usually you use a whisk to whip things, so it's just logical that it'll be a good thing to fold things in. A twisting and turning motion, fold it in. And for my last bit of turning, I want to just make sure all the stuff at the bottom comes up, so I'll use a rubber spatula. Okay, that's all set. The next thing we'll do is we'll put it in a baking pan. We'll put it in the oven. All right, I have a baking sheet, and I'm just going to spray the just the sides here, and we'll put a sheet of baking parchment onto the bottom. So all you need to do is spray the sides. As a precaution, you might want to spray that over the sink or over the trash can, because if it gets on the floor, it's going to be incredibly slippery. And then we'll just put the cake batter in here and spread it out. I've got an offset spatula, which I used to not like because I thought it was just a little bit too clever, but it's really a very nice and useful thing. It makes everything spread out so very nicely. And once that's spread out, get it right into the oven. And don't fiddle with this too much, because you don't want to destroy all of the nice bubbles that the nice air that you've whipped into the egg whites. All right, that's it. We'll put it into a 350 oven. Are we ready? For 16 minutes. Okay, cake batter in the pan. We'll put it in a 350-degree oven for 16 minutes. And we'll set the timer alarm for 16. Okay. And then we'll go on with the rest of the components for the cake. I'm at the oven. I know this cake is just about to come out. I can smell it, and it smells great. But that's one way that you can really tell that the cake is ready is when you start to smell it. I think the timer's almost ready to go off, and it had better go off. Oh, yes. Yay, yay, yay. Let's take it out. See how it looks. It looks the same. It doesn't really take on any color. All right. Chocolate cake, Bûche de Noel. Shut off the oven, and we'll go and fill it. Now that the cake layer is baked and cooled, what you want to do next is moisten it with some simple syrup. I have made this ahead of time. It's not a tricky thing to do. Equal amounts of water and granulated sugar, bring it to a boil and cool it down. I did a cup each, but you probably don't need that much. A half a cup would be fine. And you can flavor it with brandy or rum, or you don't have to flavor it at all. I'm going to put a quarter cup of rum. I'll mix it in with the simple syrup, and then I'll brush it on the cake. Then we'll fill it and roll it up and decorate it. All right, I have my rum-flavored simple syrup. I use dark rum. It has a much nicer flavor. The other ones, well, they're probably good for cocktails, but use dark rum in baking. And I'm just brushing the surfaces of this to moisten it a little bit before I fill it and roll it up. The simple syrup, again, is just an equal amount of granulated sugar and water, just brought to a boil and allowed to cool, and then flavored with some alcohol of your choice, brandy or rum. Rum works particularly nice with chocolate. That's why I've chosen it. All right, we're almost finished here. And you can see I've got this silicone brush here. I used to think, what a garbagey product. These things are going to break off in no time. But you know what? They're really good, and they really hold up. They don't break off. I've used these in professional kitchens, and if anything's going to destroy a piece of equipment, it's working with it in a professional kitchen. So these are very good, and they also don't leave bristles on the cake, which are something that's not very digestible. All right, we've gotten it moistened. All right, I have my chocolate cake moistened with simple syrup and rum, and I'm going to fill it. I'm going to fill it with whipped cream. It'll be absolutely delicious. A pint of whipped cream, which is 2 cups, and I'll add 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar and a teaspoon of vanilla. And I'll just whip them up, and then I'll spread it on the cake and roll it up. Okay, this will take a couple minutes, so I can take a champagne break, and I'll be right back. All right, that didn't take too long. My champagne break isn't nearly as long as I thought it would be. All right, whipped cream is nice and whipped. And we'll just spread it all over the cake, fill it, roll it up. Here we are. And I'm going to use that clever little offset spatula again to spread this out. I've got this wonderful whipped cream. I'm spreading it onto the surface of the sheet cake, and then we'll roll it up. One thing I'm going to do before I roll it up, okay, that looks good, is I'm going to run a knife around the edge just to make sure it's loosened from the sides, although since we sprayed it with pan release, I know it is, but it's not a bad idea. All right, it's released. I'm ready to roll it up. This is a very thin cake, so it can take a couple of rolls. And I'm going to peel the baking parchment off from it and try not to peel the cake off as well. But it all gets frosted and all looks great in the end, no matter what. All right, let's keep rolling this up. Let's see what we end up with. I think I might want to chill this a little bit, but actually I think we might be able to go on with the next step. Okay, that is completely rolled up, isn't it? Not difficult at all. All right, we're ready to cut it and finish it. I'm cutting a half sheet board in half. If you don't have a nice platter to display the Yule log on, you can buy a half sheet board, cut it in half. You can make a nice display for your cake. I'm just going to tape it with some masking tape and cover it with some foil. You can get these sheet boards at Cakeworks in Hamden. I suppose other places as well. And what I've done is I've gotten some foil. You can get these at a florist shop. You can buy these rolls of foil. And I use this a lot for my cakes. Cut it in half. Where are my scissors? Off camera. All right, I have my half sheet board cut in half. I'm just covering it with some florist foil. And if you don't have a platter or a nice dessert plate to display your desserts, you can always do this. You can use it. You can use a round cardboard if you're using a round cake, and does not look nice. Okay, we'll put the cake on here, and we'll finish it off. To frost the Bûche de Noel, I'm going to make a ganache, and we'll start the procedure by bringing a cup and 2/3 of heavy cream to a boil. And when that comes to a boil, I'll add the chocolate that you saw me chopping at the beginning of the show. And when you go to buy this, you can buy two things. You can buy heavy cream and you can buy whipping cream. They're side by side in the grocery store. They're the same thing, but I've noticed that whipping cream is less expensive than heavy cream. So buy whipping cream. It's the same thing and it'll save you a few pennies. Okay, when this comes to a boil, I'll just add the chocolate. So give me a minute. Okay, the heavy cream has come to a boil. It didn't take very long on a gas range. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the chocolate that that was chopping earlier in the show. And this is 12 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate. Just add it to the boiling cream, remove it from the heat, and just stir it until the chocolate and the cream melt together. Chocolate's rather delicate and sensitive. It burns very easily, and by boiling the cream first and then adding the chocolate, you prevent the chocolate from burning. Gives it a more gentle heat. I don't know if you can see inside that pot. This is definitely looking and smelling absolutely delicious. Tilted more, and here you are. Can you see inside there? That's just about ready. And what you want to do here now is you want to chill this for 2 hours before you can use it. So this might be a procedure you want to do ahead of time, the same as doing the mushrooms ahead of time. I can't tilt it anymore or it'll end up on the stove, but so I hope you can see how beautiful that looks. Okay, we'll go over to the mixer and we'll finish the cake off. I've got a bowl of ganache that I made earlier, and it's I'm going to put it in the mixer. I'm going to whip it up. It'll get light and fluffy, and we'll use that to frost the Bûche de Noel. This won't take very long. Let me just put it on here. We'll whip it up. I don't think this will require a champagne break. This won't take very long at all. And if you whip it up too much, it'll probably break anyway. I think that just might be enough. All right. That's ready. Let me show you what it looks like. A little fluffy. Okay. Next thing we want to do is we want to prepare the cake and put it on this board. I'm going to just unwrap it. And you want to cut it so that it looks as though there are little branches coming out of the main trunk. So this will be our main trunk right here, and these will be our branches. So I'll fill up some pastry bag with some of this stuff. And we'll use it to attach the branches, and we'll fill it out. Okay, I have a branch here, and I have another piece I cut off, and that can be a branch. Let's see, maybe like that. And let's see if this stuff isn't too soft to use. The Thom's Table Studio Kitchen is very warm, so I hope this ganache will work. And just pipe it along here. I'm using a star tip, which will create a bark-like effect. And just quickly pipe it along here. All right, just finishing it up here. Sometimes a recipe will ask you to frost it and then use a fork to create a bark-like effect. But if you use a star tip, then just go around like this. Star tip will do the same thing very nicely. Okay, it's looking rather Yule log-like. The next thing we want to do is decorate it with our mushrooms. Now, to finish off the mushrooms, those were the first thing that we made, and it'll be one of the last things that we're going to be using. I've taken the caps and I've hollowed out the bottom just a little bit with a knife, and all you have to do is take it around like that. It's very simple. And I've got my caps all hollowed out, and I've got my little stems. What I'm going to do is take some of that whipped ganache and just pipe a little bit in like that. We'll stick a stem in there, and then you've got a very nice mushroom. I'll just do a couple more of these quickly, and then we'll put them on the Yule log. All right, stems on, and then to make it look a little bit more convincing, I'll take a little cocoa powder and just lightly sprinkle it on to make it look like a real mushroom. All right, I've got my Yule log over here, and we'll just place some of those mushrooms rather randomly on there. And it's starting to look pretty good, looking pretty woodsy and authentic. Now what I've done is I've bought some a little ivy plant from the florist, and of course I washed it before I brought it onto the show. And we just twine some of this ivy along here, and it makes it look very nice. Now I found these little picks at Cakeworks. I was talking about them before, and she's got these little picks. They said they were 90 cents for a package of them, and she's selling them for only 10 cents. She said they were very old. She's going to get rid of them. So old that they were probably made in the United States, she said. So those had a nice little festive touch. And finally, you can add a little powdered sugar to make it look as though it snowed out. Doesn't that look great? Very nice. It looks rather like something you'd seen in a magazine. And it's certainly probably not the way they would be decorated in France, where this whole thing originated. They certainly probably wouldn't put any of the ivy on it. They would probably put the powdered sugar and the little picks on it, but when the housewife comes to buy one of these in the pastry shop, yes, they don't make them over there, they buy them in the pastry shop, she would probably ask the pastry chef if they could add a few more picks and things, because when she brings it home, the children will fight over the toys. So there would probably be a lot more junk stuck on this thing, just to please the kids and to make sure they don't fight on it. Here, we've got a nice little Spider-Man here for the boy, and I don't know if you'd call it a Barbie. The dollar store called it a fashion doll head. So here, this is probably much more authentic to what you would see in France. Isn't that nice? Joyeux Noël. What we should probably do next is cut it so you can see the inside, and so that I can have a taste. My favorite part of the show, cutting and tasting. Let's cut into it and see what it looks like inside. It should resemble, oh yes, concentric tree circles. Doesn't that look nice? I'm sure it tastes even better. So it has the authentic Yule log look inside and out. And here we've got it, and I get to try it. This is a Christmas dessert. A once a year treat. It's rather rich. This is dessert. This is to live for. Thank you for watching Thom's Table. Don't forget to go on Facebook, look for Thom's Table. The recipe will be there, and leave your questions, leave your comments. Enjoy your Yule log. I will see you again in the new year. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.